What?
Yeah.
What?
Another war movie, right? No. Another dog and boy movie? No. What the hell did we just watch?
I have no idea what kind of movie I just sat through.
There were pictures, and they were moving. And there was a beginning and a middle and an end, but man...
We should get into, it was originally going to be the two Bryans at this movie, and you and I were going to TED 2, which was just seeing after this, and Brian had to work late, and it started before he was able to get off work, and Sarah had a really long day on the train yesterday. At one point she was going to see TED 2, but TED 2 was kind of late, and she definitely wants some downtime. So we were just planning on seeing TED 2, and then like maybe during the week like see Max or something like that. But Film Brain really kind of made me very curious about this movie on Twitter. And this movie is from the writers, and they directed, I think, some of these movies, but mainly the writers of Bloodsport, Double Impact, Rambo 3, Safe with Jason Statham, Thou Shalt Not Kill Except, a lot of Lionheart was one of them, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm remembering the trailer, and I'm like, is this like an 80s action family movie about a dog? And that's what it is.
Kinda, yeah.
It is.
It's an 80s or 90s.
But a bad one.
Honestly, it's more like a 90s, like, made-for-TV action movie.
Oh, yeah. Like, there is nothing in this movie that... You know what, there's a few things I like about the movie, but I'll get to that in a second. But there is nothing in this movie that feels like a movie that should be in 2,000 theaters. There's nothing in this movie that even looks like a theatrical film.
No, it's what we... Okay, it's... The dog is a war dog.
Yeah.
It's a Marine Corps war dog trained to sniff out...
The dog is the only good part of this movie.
Right, so the movie... I suspect, I don't know, I just saw it, I'm not sure, is supposed to be like a wonderful tribute to war dogs, who are soldiers, who they themselves are veterans, and also the human handlers who love them and are bonded with them. And like that is a super touching thing. I mean, the beginning of this movie is... the guy who is the Marine, and Max is his dog, it's him being killed, and then you see, the family reaction at home, and it's a gut punch. It's moving, because that sort of a thing is moving, right? But then the tone just goes all over the place. And it turns into this, it turns into like 3-4 different movies.
Yeah.
That none of these movies are necessary. Each one could be good if they said, let's just make that movie. But
a lot of them are movies we've seen millions of times before.
Well, sure, but the thing is that you still could have done it well.
Sure. This movie doesn't.
And it doesn't. It's a teen romance thing. It's a PTSD, family getting over tragedy sort of thing. And it's a weapon smuggling thriller.
Yes. Here's what this movie is. We were joking in previous videos when we were leading up to this. We were joking that this movie was like Marley and Me meets American Sniper. It's not.
No.
It's Marley and Me meets The Guest.
Yeah.
That is exactly what this movie is. The Guest, but not played like a B movie, but played like a genuine... This movie is 80s and 90s action movie writers got together and decided to make a family picture.
Why?
And it has all the tropes of a bad 80s, and see, that's one thing. You feel like, oh, we're gonna make this like kind of 80s and 90s action movie, but with a dog. Okay, I can kind of get behind that. This is not a good one.
No. No, and as I was saying as I was coming out, it's like, the whole point of the movie is to honor veterans, and I'm all about that. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a great idea, and it's a great idea to make a movie honoring veterans and war dogs. That's a great idea. But let's do it with a movie that makes sense.
Or do that with something that is a war film.
Right.
This movie's not. This movie, like,
It's a family movie, so like the one war sequence, you know,
Yeah.
a couple bullets fly and he's killed, but he's killed like behind smoke. So like you see him dead, but you don't actually see anything happen to him. You know, so like that's the war.
well, like, look at the dog like he would be played by, like, a person in, like, an action movie from about 20 years ago. You know, the person has, like, a military background,
Yeah.
comes to the States, helps out this kid, stops gun smugglers. Okay, I'm sure that movie exists in many places somewhere.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
So that doesn't make it.
That plot works.
Sure.
Sorta. You know, I mean, you know,
it can, yeah. But that doesn't mean it's a. That doesn't mean it's a war film. That would be like if, like, okay, say, like, Stallone does this movie, and at the beginning of it, it shows him in the war, and then he comes to the States, but not like in First Blood, but like
that's starting
he comes to the States, helps out some kid, and like,
Right, yeah.
okay, like Homefront, for instance. I can't remember if Statham was like military in that, but no, I think he was like an undercover cop. But say like in Homefront, Jason Statham was like military, came back, and he stopped some gun runners and stuff like that. And then at the end, it's like, this is dedicated to all of, like, servicemen or something like.
Right,
What? That was
right,
just
yeah.
like his backstory. All right, I didn't know that this was. That's what it feels like
you know,
here.
you're kind of right. It's almost like what was that movie? Wasn't there something where The Marine? The movie, The
with
Marine?
John Cena.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
like, isn't that like kind of the plot of The Marine, where like he comes back, he's literally the Marine, and there's like,
I haven't seen it, but Brian has the novelization.
I guess the novelization of the.
I got it. Yeah, I gave it to him for his birthday.
Now it makes sense. Okay, now it makes sense. No, but I think that's the plot of that movie. Is he's a soldier, he comes
Yeah.
back from overseas, and like I don't know, some criminal's messing with his family, so he
Yeah.
killed. So I think that's literally the plot of The Marine. So this was The Marine, only it's a dog.
But it's a dog, and at the end, like, it's playing this horrible country song, because of course it is. And at the end, it's playing this country song, and it's showing all of these pictures of throughout history, war
yeah.
dogs, and I'm like, why didn't we get that movie? That's like 10% of this
and that's a
movie.
really, really good point. Is that it's like. They're saying, "Oh, Max is a great hero because he stopped these weapon smugglers." It's like, well, wait a second. I mean, sure, but he's a veteran, and like
Yeah.
we were wanting to honor what he did overseas, and we didn't really see that. Other than like the PSD, which is an important thing that's actually happening to our veterans and to the, but like. That wasn't what I was talking about. I mean, it wasn't like helping the dog cope. There's one scene where that happens. There's fireworks.
Which is the best scene in the movie.
I agree, because there's actually like emotion and actually,
Yeah.
well, I mean, like emotion that's earned. Okay, there's a scene where the dog is scraping its way through the funeral, trying to get its way to the casket, and it's like, okay, that's a gut punch. That's a really, really hard gut punch. And I mean, I get it. It's fine, but like they try that a couple other times in the movie too. Those type of really just hard gut punches for emotional impact. But the best one was the fireworks.
The fireworks.
Like
You
that,
might
yeah.
have seen it in the trailer. The fireworks
Right.
are going off on the 4th of July. The dog has PTSD and he's freaking out. And it's actually a great scene.
Yeah, it's a really good scene.
It feels like nothing else in this movie because it's such a good scene. Like, it is shot well. This dog, throughout all of the scenes that the dog is in the movie, the dog is directed well.
Yeah.
He's filmed well. Like, they really train this dog perfectly in this movie. The dog is absolutely fantastic. It's like they put all
right,
their
the dog is the best part of the movie.
yeah, it's like they put all of this work into the dog and in nothing else. Not on any of the other actors. Not on any of the
And it's not that
direction or
there's-
script.
It's not that there's bad actors in it. I mean, Lauren Graham's in it. And I
That
usually
was-
like her, and she was very forgettable, frankly, in this part.
That was weird.
And then there was Thomas Hayden Church, and I mean,
I'm sick of seeing redneck porn stash Thomas Hayden Church in movies. I am. Go back to womanizing drunk Thomas Hayden Church from Sideways. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like the last movie I saw him in was Heaven is for Real.
oh,
Like, is
I was really
is
worried.
Lowell your agent in real life from Wings? So, Thomas Hayden Church and Lauren Graham are the parents. Lauren Graham talks with a southern accent because in Texas. She's talking about, like, she burnt a rose. She never done that. I made this 100 times. Yeah. Meanwhile, the kid sounds like us.
Right, yeah, the kid has no accent.
Yeah.
Which was... Yeah, I don't know who that young actor was, but...
That kid was so distracting to me.
He was distracting.
Because he looks exactly like a 13-year-old Michael C. Hall. Like, the same Dexter eyes in it. Like, I kept thinking, like...
Yeah, actually, that's it.
When he's not on screen, is he just going to murder these drug runners by tying them up with saran wrap and stabbing them? This kid has a long future of playing murderers.
That's true, and honestly, with the way the tone shifted so much in this movie, he might have been.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, okay, so, like, here's an example of the tone shift that was just really jarring and weird, and it's like, wait a second, what movie are you making? Okay, the scene in the funeral, where it's the dog trying to get into the casket of his dead comrade, which is a gut punch. I mean, it was like, that's emotional, that's raw.
Yeah.
The very next scene is the Marine handler saying, okay, we got to get the dog back in the truck, and then it does like a jump cut to him turning around with this look on his face, like, whoa, with like
scratches on his face, like,
what
was that?
It's like, really? You do that? That's... Who thought that it's like, you know what, after this gut punch of a Marine death's, funeral scene, let's have a funny moment there. It's kind of funny, because the dog scratched his face and he had a look. But, like, why? Why do they do that? Why do they, I mean...
Throughout my head, I was thinking, like, this would be amazing if I got a copy of this movie and added in Tequila, like, from Tequila and Benetti-style dialogue to the dog.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was actually, whenever I was getting bored in this movie, like, I was thinking in my head,
what would
like...
the dog be saying?
Like, yeah, what would, like... I need to get a copy of this and write my own dialogue for the dog, and fuck yeah. And one more thing about Lauren Graham real quick. What was really distracting to me about her in this movie is that, like, I mean, she's got lines in this movie where the kid says, like, oh, I don't want to freaking do that or something. And Lauren Graham's like, don't cuss. And he's like, I didn't. She's like, yeah, but the Lord knows what's in your head. And I'm like, what is she doing here? This is like, this is bizarre. This is the kind of movie that Lorelai and Rory Gilmore would watch and make fun of. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Oh my, you're absolutely right. It just, because I want to be meaner to it, but, like, it's about honoring veterans and veteran dogs, and it's like, I want to do that. I want to honor them. I do, because they are heroes, and they're doing, shit that I could never do.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to be honored, but let's honor them with a good movie.
I would rather watch this again than Unbroken. The last war movie we saw. Like, at this one, Unbroken was probably better made than this movie. No, it was better made than this movie. It was
phenomenally better made.
But this movie was not as boring as Unbroken, because this movie was so batshit and so bizarre. It was a mesh of, like...
Because it'd be, there's the, oh God, the family dealing with their dead son, and the...
And the guest turning up. And then the guest! From Adam Wingard's The Guest, but it's a family movie.
And then there's a teen radical bike, totally...
those guys.
Yeah, the radical bike jumps that they were doing, which were totally radical.
The fucking... You know what character drove me fucking nuts in this goddamn thing? And you were talking about the tonal shifts and everything. What broke that for me every single fucking time in this goddamn movie...
Was the comic relief best friend?
No, fuck him hard! Like...
Yeah! Because again,
hey, come on, SF, my cousin's coming over.
Right,
We're gonna...
because everybody has those, nobody talks like this in real life serious lines.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He calls
I can't riff every one of them, but, like, everybody's so serious and so drab and so, like...
And then this motherfucker
and then this guy just pops in and he goes, yo, B, I'm not gonna go do that. You gotta just, like...
This is like...
horribly stereotype...
50 years ago, this would have been Speedy Gonzalez. Like, this fucking kid in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, every time...
I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the writing. It's bad writing.
I'm sure it is. I'm positive it is.
Probably could be a really actor.
Because it's PG, he doesn't call people bitch. He calls him B. So you do have one of Tequila's lines in the movie, like, oh, that's cold, B. But it's not the dog saying it, it's this annoying kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he calls everybody B. It took me forever to realize that was a substitute for bitch, because I just thought, like, I've been watching so much Tequila and Benetti, so I just thought B was the first name of the other kid from the movie. But, like, this kid, he shows up and he says stuff like, oh, we got a bunch of dogs at our place, Holmes. Come on over, B. Look at them. Look at them 10 little chihuahuas. Like, and they got 10 chihuahuas over at their place. Oh, they think they're big, like the big dog, Holmes. Like, oh, fuck off!
Right. He didn't really, he never really even did anything that was, like, useful.
Just,
I mean, he wasn't...
cartoonish slang
he was
written
a cartoon.
by the whitest of the two screenwriters.
Clearly,
wrote his
yes.
lines.
They said, okay, which one's whiter? Who's whiter? I am. I get to write it.
I get to write this kid's lines.
I know what it's like, you know.
Fuck.
Yeah. It was just all over the place. And it's like, as much as I wanted to, be like, I want to honor veterans and their dogs. I want to do that. I'm on board. I'm there. Let's do that. Oh God, not with this movie.
But in this movie is like, at least Unbroken was a war movie,
You're
and
damn right.
if it says something like that at the end, it's like, okay, this was a bad movie, but okay. In this was like,
it's dedicated to these dogs, but like most of the movie was not about them doing anything in the war.
No, it was a gun running movie.
Right.
It was a domestic gun running movie.
And that's the point I was getting to. Okay, in the first like opening sequence when he's actually in Afghanistan and you're actually seeing the dog do what the dog is supposed to do, what he's trained.
Yeah.
Why he's not a normal dog? Because he's not a normal dog.
Yeah.
He's a highly trained. He's a soldier, and he has a specific job. And you see it. You see it in the movie. He searches out in the house and finds a weapon cache.
Yeah.
Okay, right? That's you set up. You did a setup of this dog can find weapon caches.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get through the movie, and there's this. The main plot of the movie is that there's the guest guy,
Yeah.
who is the best, or not best friend, but like old school friend of the brother that died, who is in Afghanistan, and they already tell you up front that he's doing something like with missing guns. There's missing guns.
He comes and makes friends with the family. Comes back and makes friends with the family, and they let him into their house, like in The Guest.
And wouldn't you know it, the father runs a storage business, like so he has storage units. And the guy who at some point was smuggling guns, is now working for the guy with the storage unit. And wouldn't you know it, he's having a deal with, the Mexican cartels, and they say, where's all the guns hidden? And he says, don't worry, it's stored somewhere safe. So, it's stored at, it's stored at the storage facility. So I was thinking, okay, clearly what they're probably building up to is some type of, thing where Max is gonna get to show again that he's still a soldier, that he's still as good as he always was, and he was gonna go find that weapon cache. They totally didn't even touch that, and everybody.
But it did come full circle that at the beginning of the movie, Lauren Graham didn't like cussing, and then at the end she cusses. She says, "Damn."
You're right. That was a better story or character arc than kind of.
I mean, the dog is doing action movie hero things. There are fight scenes with the dog.
Right.
There's the dog dodging bullets. There's a prison break scene.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
There's a fucking prison break scene in this
The dog
movie.
breaks himself out of prison, and he does it in a way that actually, sort of made sense for the dog in the scenario.
Yeah, they take action movie tropes and make it about a dog, so it's not
and that's actually kind of cool. I mean, some of the things is cool.
Yeah, like the prison, because he's about to be put down, and so he's in like the kennel and stuff like that, and he escapes, and it is shot and performed like a prison break scene.
And it's done really well, and it's like that was a uncharacteristically cool scene for this
because of all of that, all of like the dog fighting the other dogs, and then like. I mean, the villain straight up dies at the end. The dog pushes him off a bridge.
Right, yeah, well, both villains do. One blows up in the truck, and the other one...
Yeah, one blows up in the fucking truck.
Right.
And so the dog...
literally, the truck falls off a ravine and crashes. I was like, well, it's a PG movie. He's going to crawl...
Oh, no,
and I was like, he's going to crawl out and go, I've been so hurt. But no,
bullets are flying out of this thing. And, like, rocket launchers are going up. It blows up the railroad tracks, so I hope a fucking train doesn't come.
Right.
Like, what? Yeah. And then the dude, Tyler's the bad guy's name, the guest, he's about to shoot he's about to shoot the kid.
Yeah, right.
And then the dog just fucking pushes him right off of the fucking thing. He's dead. Like, so all of these are all action movie hero tropes, but about a dog. And because of that, because that makes up at least the last two acts of this movie,
right, yeah.
when it got to the ending credits where it's showing war dogs and stuff like that of the past, I had forgotten about that.
There's a war movie?
Yeah.
Because, you had brought up the point, and it's so true. It's like, other than the first opening part where he's a war dog, this could have been any dog movie.
No, it could have. It could have been.
Really could have been any dog movie of, oh look, I found a stray puppy.
Yeah.
And then I raised that stray puppy, and because we're such good friends, when I stumbled upon all these gun runners, the dog saved my life.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been this movie, but no, they just kind of shoehorned in he's actually a veteran, type of thing.
It seriously could have been. It's like, boy, his dog, they witness a crime or something like that with gun runners. Like, that is really that is most of this movie.
That is what this movie is. That's this movie, is they took that movie and they shoehorned in this little opening about him being a war dog, and they made it so that the guy who was the drug smuggler was the friend of, so that there was that connection there.
Yeah.
But all of the rest of the movie, the whole thing about the father and son, that whole trope about him being an ex-Marine and
oh, yeah.
Could have also been accomplished in that same movie where it's just a boy and his dog.
Oh, totally.
Like, because the whole point was, about bravery or whatever. So,
man, they dump like Thomas Hayden Church exposition on us throughout this whole movie. Like, at one point, a half hour in, we finally realize he doesn't have a leg, and then
right. Even though, like, for most of the movie he's walking fine, but then there's scenes where like he's deliberately like doing like a limp or something.
And then, like, something else is dropped.
You also never see it either.
No, we never see it.
I was expecting that at some point.
It's too expensive.
It's right, it's too expensive. They spent all their money on the dog, which was money well spent because the dog was great.
Dog is... They spent all their time and effort on this dog.
They really
and
did.
It shows in that dog's the best part, nothing else works. Because, like, just bits of exposition are just thrown in there about Thomas Hayden Church that the movie thinks that we should already know, because it's not like it's a reveal.
No.
It's just kind of said. And then, like, at one point, like, I think they try painting him as, like, a racist at one point.
They do, yes. Yeah.
Where, like... The two friends who are both Mexican, they're at dinner with them, and the girl mentions, like, they have
her brother raises pit bulls.
Her brother raises pit bulls, and then Thomas Hayden Church is like, for like dog fighting. And she's like, no, they're rescue. Which, to be fair to Thomas Hayden Church in that instance, I'm gonna be fair to him in that instance, because, yeah, he said something, like, really stereotypical, but he is having dinner with the most stereotypical Mexican on film that I've seen since Speedy Gonzalez.
Racist.
Like, to be fair to him, like... The kid, like, they're, like, giving him shit, like, oh, no.
Is he in that? I don't even know. Wait, was he in that scene?
I swear he was. I thought he was. Maybe I'm wrong. But, like...
The thing is, though, yeah, I don't...
He's giving him shit, and, like, well, the kid has, like, 10 chihuahuas sitting in his window. Like, Thomas Hayden Church probably assumes he's a walking stereotype.
Well, the kid, the boy, the two kids, there's the girl and the boy totally is a walking stereotype.
The girl now.
No, she's not. No, she's cute. She's fine. I mean, she does, her kind of, mysterious tough chick kind of routine that ends up, I mean, and like, it's totally the same trope of every teen romance.
Yeah, she's the rebellious one. You can tell because she's got a tank top on and she wears a funny hat.
Right. I think it's all these people who are like, let's go back and make movies like we did in the 80s. Only not the good ones.
Yeah. It's like, I want to like this bizarre hybrid of a dog movie and an 80s and 90s action movie, but it doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't. As much as I love 80s and 90s action movies, there were some bad ones.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This reminds me of the bad ones.
This is and just this weird tribute to dog soldiers that, like, I wish there was a better movie to pay tribute to dog soldiers. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, Lone Survivor had that whole moment, did the ending where it's like, the post epilogue of you know, here's the pictures of the actual soldiers that died.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is really impactful because, like, you know, it was a war movie, and these are the real guys that really did this. And, like, American Sniper had the actual footage from his actual funeral and stuff, and that's really powerful, because this, it's like, okay, we did this whole gun smuggling thing, and then, by the way, here's a couple of beagles from World War I.
Yeah,
like, literally, that's what it was.
Just to remind you that this was once a war movie,
and it was a country version of Forever Young. Is the song? Did you catch that?
I heard him singing Forever Young, like the Rod Stewart song?
I think so. I think the lyrics were the Forever Young.
Okay.
And so I
couldn't really tell. All I knew was I didn't like it.
Well, it was the slow, sappy, twangy, that, and so it's like, okay, so, yes, dogs have been a major part of, being soldiers for a long, long time, but, like, this movie wasn't about war dogs. It was about a movie that just happened to be a war dog.
Yeah.
He just happened to be a war dog. It wasn't like this is what they go through. This is what their handlers and them actually go through. The strife of being, the soldier and having a true best friend like this. I mean, that could have been a good movie.
Yeah.
Actually in Afghanistan or Iraq or something like that, or wherever. But no, he just happened to be a war dog, and then he goes and he busts Mexican cartels. So, with his plucky teenage, best friend and his one wildly stereotypical, actually they're both kind of stereotypical. She's the stereotypical, like, spunky outcast kind of girl. Yeah,
she is.
So.
Yeah, she absolutely is. Like, we are probably making this movie sound way better than it is, or way more entertaining than it is, and it is batshit.
Yeah.
There's no possible way I could recommend this to see in the theater.
No.
Because of how, like, insane it is that this movie exists in the way that it does exist. I almost want to say, like, maybe it would be worth checking out on Netflix.
Yeah, if you've already watched every show you're ready to watch,
yeah,
you're like, okay, nothing else. What?
I love the dog.
The dog was great.
Yeah,
the dog had charisma. The dog, did action scenes really well. The dog, I identified with the dog, and I was like, I love the dog.
Because I love the dog, and because there were a couple of scenes with the dog that I thought genuinely were really good, namely the fireworks scene. I can't completely write this off and say never ever see this movie ever, but like like maybe as a curiosity, as like a rental, like if you're Lorelai and Rory Gilmore and you want to see something to just like kind of riff and stuff in it.
That'd be meta, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What was she doing in this movie?
I was telling you, there's been a couple movies, or at least things I feel like I've seen her in, where she's just been played this very uninteresting mom character.
I love Lauren Graham.
I do too.
I love Lauren Graham.
I've watched the Gilmore Girls, and I know that you've been catching up on it, right? Or at least
I've seen all of them.
You've seen all of them now? Yeah. I mean, that's a really good show.
Yeah.
And she's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's so funny and witty and great, and she's a great actress. And there just hasn't been really anything that's been good for her.
They let her do none of that in this movie.
Nothing.
Nothing.
She's not plucky. She's not funny.
She's great on Parenthood. Like,
sure, yeah.
She was great on Parenthood, which ran for some seasons. Beyond Parenthood,
wasn't she in Evan Almighty?
Yeah, I think so.
She was the mom in that.
But that was like, I was still working at the video store when that
was a long-ass time. But I'm just saying that, like, I've only ever seen her in painfully bland characters that are so beneath her abilities.
Yeah, Gilmore Girls reunion, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And a Wings reunion, too, for Thomas Hayden Church.
Fuck yes!
Yeah.
I would be down with that hardcore.
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah.
What time is it?
Oh, it's 9:50.
Oh, I guess we gotta go see Talking Bear movie now.
Talking Bear movie. At least it's supposed to be funny.
I wonder if this movie will be the funnier between the two.
I hope so. Intentionally so.
See you in a few.